Friday and Saturday, demonstrators took to the streets of Los Angeles and the nearby cities of Paramount and Compton to protest raids conducted by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Trump issued an order Saturday for 2,000 members of the California National Guard to intervene in the LA protests. His directive to the Secretaries of Defense and Homeland Security and the Attorney General said the call-up was necessary to temporarily protect federal officials as they enforce the law and protect federal property. As many as 118 arrests were made in LA this week as a result of ICE operations, including 44 on Friday, as per the reports. Photos and videos from Paramount and Compton showed damage to a gas station and vehicles that had been set on fire as protesters appeared to light fireworks. On Saturday, ICE accused protesters of having destroyed taxpayer-owned property around Los Angeles, and the previous day, the most prominent incidents appeared to be concentrated outside Los Angeles city limits. As per reports, some protesters were arrested alleging that they had assaulted federal authorities. However, the number of the arrests are yet to be ascertained. Members of the Trump administration also accused California officials of responding too slowly. Now we have guest Ross Feingold. He's a political risk analyst joining us live from Taipei. Thank you for joining us. Ross, what are the political and legal implications of deploying 2,000 National Guard troops in LA without invoking the Insurrection Act?
Well, in the Los Angeles area, which the Democrat vote is typically the majority, there's going to be a lot of anger at this move by the federal government. But outside of Los Angeles and the places around the United States that voted for President Trump and his immigration agenda last year, there'll probably be a lot of support. This is certainly a very controversial decision going over the governor, who typically would be the one to activate or deploy National Guard units. So it's certainly going to be a lot of controversy in the coming days. And a lot of this will depend on what is the result on the street. Are the rioters going to return to peaceful protest and stop the use of violent methods? Are the National Guard actually going to be patrolling on the street, which my understanding is has not occurred yet? Or is the Pentagon even going to deploy active duty Marines, which the Secretary of Defense said is another possibility? So there's still a lot of unknowns in this situation at the moment, but certainly it's very, very controversial.
And according to you, how serious is the risk of escalation when federal officials like Defense Secretary Hegseth openly suggests mobilizing active duty Marines against American civilians?
Certainly it's very dangerous. The Marines are not trained for this kind of situation. They're not trained for riot control on the streets of the United States. They're trained to go to war overseas. That's what they train for every day, and they're very good at what they do. But their methods and their skill set is not necessarily a match for reducing the violence that we've seen in the streets of Los Angeles. Look, the best thing would be for those who are burning cars or otherwise using violent methods just to stop doing that and to engage in peaceful protest. It's understandable that people object to the immigration policies and the recent roundups conducted by federal agencies in the Los Angeles area. But the right way to respond is peaceful protests, not violent protests.
And speaking of the violent protests, Vice President J.D. Vance labeled the protesters as insurrectionists. What are the dangers of using such charged language in domestic political conflicts?
The interesting thing there is it's not just charged language, that's actually legal terms of art, because it comes from some of the laws that provide the legal basis for the Trump administration to either deploy the National Guard or possibly even deploy active duty Marines to the streets of Los Angeles. So J.D. Vance, being a lawyer himself, he knows this, and he picked that word very carefully because it might provide a legal basis, at least from the administration's perspective, to do what they're doing.
And on a related note, how could this federal-local clash affect political stability, especially in diverse urban centers like LA, where many residents may feel targeted?
the administration is not going to reduce its immigration enforcement efforts. And they're going to do these efforts around the country in rural areas as well as in big cities. There's media reports over recent days that Trump is unhappy with the pace of arrests of undocumented or illegal immigrants. He wants it to be 3,000 per day. And now we see the federal agencies responding to this demand from President Trump. So I think that the administration is not going to be scared off by this response that we saw in the streets of Los Angeles. It might even embolden them more to continue conducting their enforcement actions.
In case this violence continues and if violence erupts more and active duty military forces are deployed, what kind of precedent does that set for future administrations and what political risks come with that?
Well, you're right. It would set a precedent for using federal and, frankly, the military in times of domestic unrest or social unrest on the streets of the United States. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Again, the best thing would be for the protesters who have used violent methods to change that to peaceful methods and make their opinions known using only peaceful methods. But yes, it would set a precedent, and future presidents might consider the same method if President Trump uses that method this time.
Thank you very much, Ross Feingold. He's a political risk analyst.